Hey everyone, this is Mark. I just wanted to take a minute before we start this episode to thank Salt Lake Gaming Con for allowing a lot of podcasters the opportunity to have a place to go and record live in front of an audience if they could get one. We did appreciate it very much. Enjoy this episode in which we talk about and around Spider-Man Far From Home. With about 13 different tangents that for once I'm not going to cut out, and I'm just going to let you listen to them as they happen in real time. So thanks for listening, everybody. And don't forget to like, follow, and share us with your friends. You know where we're at. Facebook, Twitter, iTunes, Spotify, every place. Now sit back and enjoy the episode.
So, Patrick, here we are. Salt Lake Gaming Convention 2019.
Yes. Welcome, everybody. Man, packed house.
That guy in the back needs to calm down. He is way too excited.
So many cosplayers, so many people here looking like Spider-Man. I see the red and black already.
I see a lot of Drax. I see a whole lot of Drax out there.
Awesome.
Yes, we're recording live from Salt Lake Gaming Con. Welcome back to the Visually Stunning Movie Podcast. We're going to talk about a lot of things. We're hopefully going to get someone to come in, special guest, maybe, possibly. So if we may have to interrupt what we're talking about, so please don't take it personally. Trust us, you'll enjoy it.
You'll know it if you hear, "Oh my God!" And then that'll tell you exactly what happened at that point.
Yeah, pretty much. Let's talk about let's talk about the movie we saw Wednesday night.
Okay, what movie was that?
That was Spider-Man Far From Home. With Tom Holland, as Spider-Man. Mm-hmm. He's pretty good. It's like he's done it before.
Well, I think this is actually his fifth iteration as the MCU Spider-Man. Probably that's now beating all the other Spider-Man in as far as records goes. Like it's now beaten Tobey Maguire. I guess has been beaten for a while.
My sarcasm aside, it's been beaten in more ways than one. Mm. So we have Tom Holland, we have Jake Gyllenhaal.
Yep.
As Mysterio. We have
the character itself, Mysterio.
Yes.
As in nobody can talk about anything about that character.
Yeah. So and we get Samuel L. Jackson back as Nick Fury. We get Maria Hill. So we get Colby Smulders, and Spider-Man goes to Europe. Spider-Man goes to Europe. If you've seen the trailers, what we're not gonna try to do is spoil anything for you.
Yeah.
But it's really hard.
What do you think your best synopsis is of all of the, like, from Endgame up to now? Because it leads directly into Endgame. So what are we thinking with that?
Well, no, it's post.
Well, leading after
it leads out. Okay, so if you haven't seen Avengers Endgame, we're really gonna have to talk around some stuff for you. So Spider-Man kicks off after Endgame, when the world is trying to put itself back into some sort of semblance of normality with half the people, with the population of the Earth.
I think it's safe to spoil Endgame at this point. If the Russo brothers cleared the landing, after the death of his mentor, Tony Stark, oh no, everybody run out. He's terrified and not really wanting to jump into a superhero role right after Endgame, so he's like, let's go on vacation.
And can I? Yeah, well, it's a school trip. It's not a vacation. It's
a study abroad.
It's a school. No, it's not even study. There's not a lot of studying.
They are studying abroad.
It's a school trip. But here's my thing: is that Marvel again? They have a tendency to do this with their films. The trailer that they put out basically has nothing to do with the film that they wind up putting in theaters.
How so?
The
Is it
cutesy
just like the
scene,
misdirections?
There's a lot of misdirection. There's a lot of scenes. It's like they give the trailer is like a prologue to the film. Spider-Man helping the cops. Peter Parker picking up his passport. I know he says that in the trailer, and it's funny. Picking up passport, Peter Parker. Things like that. And then, of course, you do get classic Marvel misdirection with the actual plot of the film, which I don't want to touch on too much. But what we're given going into this is we get the concept of the Marvel multiverse.
Yes,
is what they give us in this film, with Mysterio coming from Earth 833, and of course, our traditional Marvel Cinematic Universe being Earth 616. So we're given that in the trailer. And that stays in the film.
Yeah.
So that concept does magically carry over for a change. Now, how that plays out by the end of the film, of course, is one of the spoilers that we don't want to give you.
Yeah, you chose a weird one to spend 45 minutes talking about, because it's 45 minutes of us dancing around every part of the film that we can.
Well, here's what we can talk about. How do you feel this Spider-Man Far From Home? Well, oh my God.
Go on, it's fine. No,
for those listening at home, Patrick has just put on his Spider-Man mask.
Look, if we're gonna do this, we got to do it right?
Sure. So my co-host is now the web slinger.
Yep.
How do you feel that Far From Home stacks up against Homecoming?
I think as far as Far From Home being a sequel to Homecoming, I think it does everything that you want a sequel to do to the first off. Homecoming is a lot more of a smaller scale from what they're doing. He's in New York, but he's not really in the traditional parts of New York that he was in before. And with him in Far From Home being able to hit all of these cool landscapes and like monuments that are all around Europe is really fun to watch. I think it reminds me kind of like when a sitcom would go on vacation, right? You're not used to any of the traditional environments that the character is used to. Like, there's not really many skyscrapers to swing off of and stuff, and that inherently is interesting. And all of the characters thrown into this different situation is really fun to watch. I think Tom Holland killed it as Spider-Man, and John Watts. I want him to do the third one now.
I agree that Tom Holland has got this role on lock. I liked, to compare the two, I liked Homecoming. I at the time I described it, if John Hughes had directed a superhero film.
Yeah.
And in this one, it's hard to capture lightning in a bottle twice. And they mostly pull it off, in my opinion. I think part of any problem that I might have with the film is the fact that if Spider-Man is not in New York or with other Avengers like he was during Civil War, the fish out of water thing only plays so long before it just I don't want to say tiresome, because you can't really get tired of watching Spider-Man. But you want something to ground what you know of that character more.
Yeah.
Even though the point is that he's out of his element, but he's not out of his element because he just doesn't have confidence, and that is irrelevant to where he is.
Yeah. Whether
he's in New York or whether he's in Prague or Vienna or Venice or wherever they happen to be. So I don't think that Far From Home rises to the level of Homecoming.
Okay.
But it's solid, and it's got way more intrigue than Homecoming did. Because Homecoming, every development with the Vulture and everything else, that it's not telegraphed, but if you're paying attention, you can connect the dots as you go. Unless you walk into Far From Home in a hyper sensitive, paranoid state, you're not going to guess A, B, or C necessarily.
Yeah.
And get to the end result.
Where Venom, on the other hand, isn't going to be anywhere in the MCU.
Especially
they'll make it so Tom Holland can be in Venom, but not vice versa.
Mid-credit, post-credit,
I think
intra-credit scenes.
I mean, with these after-credit scenes,
where
are they the most important ones in the MCU?
Spider-Man's universe really is
point?
just kind of
absolutely. So stay
flipped
for
upside
both
down.
Of them. As far as implications, we can't talk about those things,
so
because the implications themselves are spoilers
into
what
the next
those
Spider-Man
credit scenes even are.
Or if it will affect.
Yeah, and although the one cameo
any interaction he has
was
going forward with the main line.
I don't even want to say that.
I know, but it
Who?
was
Yeah, nobody was in there.
I came out and I wanted to say,
and
and
everybody
I did
walked
say
out.
that.
There was even a credit.
It was the
Spider-Man
cameo we
is the face of the
deserved
MCU
with
going
the
forward.
actor, and he should be.
That
It is not
needed
Captain
to
Marvel.
do it.
You are
The
getting
problem
close,
now is
man.
that other Spider-Man
I don't know
can
why
be
we're
in
even
the
going
MCU.
through.
I'm just
Homecoming!
I'm sure there's a
No, I'm
contract
just saying,
out there where he's
you
gonna be
know.
in for
Oh, I'm sure he's
X.
going to
I
be in
did
for
like the
many more
conspiracy theory
MCU films. He's not going anywhere.
of that particular portion of it. I thought that was where that character might have wound up had they not wound up where they are in the traditional Spider-Man mythos. But
what did you think about all the side characters in it? Well, we got Mysterio, we have Nick Fury, of course. But what about all the kids? MJ's performance in this versus Homecoming.
I liked the fact that they address the snap, and then I liked the fact that they address the blip, and all of the fandom's questions about how does everyone come back and what happens. But they do it in a way they laugh about it, and it's serious, and they address they address enough of it to get through this film, but. There's one part that they actually do address that actually raises questions that people asked and they haven't answered it. And it was if you remember when the high school band reappears, or the half that gets snapped when they get blipped.
I don't remember that.
They appeared.
I don't
in the
remember
gym.
any of that happening.
They
because
appeared in the gym.
We have not seen this film.
No, yes, we have, and embargo ended 12 hours ago, or 8 hours ago. So we can talk about it all we want.
Spoiler free, hopefully.
Mostly spoiler free, but we know people come back because people come back. That's what happens in comic books. But they do answer one question, of course, and they leave one question. That question, of course, is airplanes. So because what they give us implies that airplanes play a part, and so not everything, unless the word safe was actually in the Hulk's head. So which I believe he was told, but. Who knows? We'll have to see how that shakes out. But overall, the side characters are great. I thought it was hilarious. The interaction. I thought Ned and Betty Brant. I thought that interaction was damn near priceless.
Yeah.
As I watched it, I was just giggling like a little schoolgirl inside watching that because I was just like, oh my god, that is literally the funniest thing in the film. MJ was solid, even up to that certain point when her world gets turned upside down a little bit. I thought she did really well. Zendaya did really well again, but they allowed her to do more than they did in Homecoming.
Yeah, they really fleshed her character out more. With Homecoming, she's a lot more to the side, and they save that big reveal for the story, so you don't get a lot of build-up with her. You get the one-offs, but in this, they actually show you what her character is, what she does, what her likes or dislikes are. They do the same a lot with Tom Holland and Peter Parker's relationship. The only thing with me is we've got Spider-Man and his significant other being so critical to all of these Spider-Man films. We got the first Mary Jane with Tobey Maguire, Kirsten Dunst, Andrew Garfield, and Emma Stone with Gwen Stacy. So I wouldn't necessarily say that as far as chemistry goes or relationships that have been built so far, this might be the weakest between Peter and MJ as far as relationships go that I've seen. Not in characters, because I think MJ is a better character in this, but I don't really get them together just yet.
Well, part of it is that this film is actually, you're seeing a high school relationship as opposed to this end of high school, early college. And even the Garfield version was high school. The Garfield version was high school, but it was like watching 90210 high school. It's like you understand that these people are 30, and so it doesn't really work. You feel like Tom Holland is 12 in these films, and in high school. So
I wouldn't go 12 at this point.
Well, you know what I'm talking about. I mean, they feel young. There's that awkward. Everything's awkward when you're in high school. If you're not in, it's awkward, and that is, I think, really what makes Holland's Peter Parker work. And again, I think that boils down to, I've said it before, Marvel, even though this is still technically a Sony property, Marvel has in the past, they always cast the person and then make that person into the hero. So, they cast Tony Stark. They didn't cast Iron Man. They cast...
But with Tom Holland, that was Sony's choice, funny enough.
And it was, and they got it right.
Kevin Feige was really penning for Asa Butterfield to be Spider-Man, but Amy Pascal had to basically say, no, you got to trust me. This is the Spider-Man.
And no one's perfect. But again, he's the perfect Peter Parker. And then they turn him into Spider-Man. Whereas DC has a tendency, they'll cast Superman, not Clark Kent. They'll cast Batman, not Bruce Wayne. So and it doesn't. And so now you're trying to take a hero and make them human instead of take a human and making them a hero.
Mm-hmm.
And that's where Marvel has excelled in the films, and where DC really has stumbled. Because
at least with the Snyderverse, yeah.
Well, yeah. So Peter Parker continues that. Tom Holland as Peter Parker continues that streak of wins for Marvel in that regard of getting the casting right. Because if your casting is wrong, it doesn't matter. I mean, they did it again. Who would have called Benedict Cumberbatch as a New York surgeon? Nobody, except Marvel. And then, of course, they turned the obnoxious New York surgeon into the master of the mystic arts. So it's just one of those weird things that happens in casting, and Tom Holland pulls it off because he's Peter Parker first, and he's Peter Parker first because he doesn't know how to not be Peter Parker even when he's Spider-Man.
Yeah.
And again, that's kind of what makes him so lovable in the role.
Mm-hmm.
So
how does he rank among the other Spider-Men to you?
He's oh man, that is such a not fair question.
Including Miles Morales and Into the Spider-Verse.
See, that's not fair.
Or Peter B. Parker as well.
Oh, I do love me some Peter B. Parker.
You got a lot to choose from.
Yeah, I know, right? No, of the three live action of Spider-Man, Tobey Maguire, Andrew Garfield, and Tom Holland. Garfield is the third choice on that list for me. I did not care for him. I didn't buy it.
Mm-hmm.
And the problem was that he was following Tobey Maguire, who in the first two films at least really kind of embody that, because that's kind of who Tobey Maguire is too, in a lot of ways. But Tom Holland just comes in, and he's younger than Tobey was, I think, when he did the role. They moved it back to literally high school.
Yeah.
And like I said, they ramped it up into an almost John Hughes comedy. So it really accentuated all of the Peter Parker aspects, which I think is what puts Holland ahead for me in the hierarchy of those three.
Yeah.
So you can't compare that to voicing Miles Morales Into the Spider-Verse, which is a ridiculously phenomenal film.
I think Peter B. Parker deserves to be on the list.
He can be ahead of. I'll put him ahead of Andrew Garfield then, but
I'd put Peter B. Parker and likely Holland.
I would put
two.
Spider Noir ahead of Andrew Garfield. So that's where I say. But no, of those three, Holland is number one. Tobey isn't that far behind.
Mm-hmm.
But Garfield, that was just a bad casting decision.
I never thought it was the casting problem with it. I thought it was the studio meddling and the forced Sinister Six cameos. The director wanting to do something and the studio wanting to do something else. And I don't know. I remember seeing at Comic-Con when Andrew Garfield came in and ripped off his Spider-Man mask, being one of the people coming up and asking a question and just telling everybody how much he loved the character. And say what you want about The Amazing Spider-Man 2, the quips were there. Like, for sure, when he put the mask on, that dude was Spider-Man. And maybe one of the most comics-accurate costumes was on display in that. Comics accurate Electro? No, not so much.
Yeah,
Maybe
but he would have looked silly.
Leprosy Goblin and all of the other lovely characters that were introduced in that.
Electro
Man,
would have looked
Dane
silly.
DeHaan, but why? Why would they do that?
It would have been dumb. It would have been dumb to do comics accurate, and you have to deviate from the comics occasionally.
Far From Home is far from Amazing Spider-Man 1 and 2. In fact, what would you rank it?
In relation to all of the other Spider-Man films?
Yeah, where is it in your 1, 2, 3?
I put Homecoming number one. I probably put Spider-Man as number two, Tobey's first outing. And then I would toss up Far From Home and Spider-Man 2.
Oh, nice.
And I would have to go back and watch Spider-Man 2 again. Because Doc Ock in Spider-Man 2 just
brilliant
makes that movie.
Yep. And the deep running themes from the first one going into it with the stuff that Tobey Maguire had with Aunt May. That awesome scene where he's just sitting there having to basically confess everything to her.
Yep.
It's soul crushing.
And
that's the kind of maybe the stuff that maybe that's what I mean when I mean I don't really buy into MJ and Peter Parker's relationship, or maybe Aunt May and his. Way more Aunt May and his, but I don't think that this has really gotten into the superhero depth of certain stuff.
No,
the things that they do introduce are kind of surface level in a John Hughes way, but I'd like at some point to be caught off guard, I guess.
Yeah, well, that's going to happen in 3, I think, after the end of Far From Home. But, yeah, the depth is there. But Spider-Man, first and foremost, does need to be fun because he is a fun character. But, yeah, if a film is – if it's just – and this was actually my problem with Thor, is that they turned Thor into the comic relief of the MCU, and that was never my impression of Thor. That needs to be another character. So Thor,
You're talking Thor now?
I'm talking Thor now.
Whoa.
They've turned him into he's just and that because that was my problem, because like when Thor 1 came out, it was deadly serious Thor with like a childish ego. And
I liked the first Thor.
And I did too, because I thought Branagh was trying to do something really great. Then you get to Thor 2 Dark World, which is just a mess. But then once they roll, but by then they start rolling Thor into the Avengers films, and they keep giving him he's kind of the butt of jokes, or he's the one kind of having to Godsplain why he's not godlike, or Loki is this or that. So he starts, and then by the time you get to Ragnarok, which is a fun movie, it's just all laughs. It's like, what is the?
Wow.
It's literally, it's like,
I cannot believe you're
like,
ragging on Ragnarok.
It's what is the
I'm
silliest
not a part
thing,
of this.
What is the silliest thing Thor can say right now? And that's pretty much what they gave him to do. So while it's enjoyable, it's not. See, Thor. Okay. So Thor and T'Challa are both royalty.
Okay.
Anytime those two guys are in a room, it should sound like a UN meeting.
I don't think it.
And that's not the Thor that we've been
point?
given at this point.
Okay, mic is off. Isn't that the point of Ragnarok? Is that he's not a king anymore, or like the end of Endgame? His character arc is so through at this point. It's probably just gonna be as much of a throwaway as whenever they show Bruce's parents die. Like we've seen his character arc end at this point. Endgame and Infinity War felt like natural progressions, albeit yes, he was like you can't wear a fat suit and be
serious
unless you're Gary Oldman. You can't do that as well,
True.
Especially in a Marvel film. But
No.
I would say that his take on where Thor would go was important for the sweaties that are maybe just as big as him, that are maybe sad about something that's happened. They've got some representation now. Wow. Maybe that's not what they intended, but they got it. And I think a lot of people, at least on Reddit, were going after the sweaties.
The sweaties?
You don't know the term sweaties?
No, please educate, enlighten me, sir.
Sweaties are the people, the fan base of every fan base that get so hot in the head that they get sweaty when they talk about the things
So the people
that
that aren't in the fan base, they'd call them
my face right now.
The mouth breathers.
If you were to take this off and put a dictionary right next to me under the word sweaty, you would have sweaty.
Wow.
And that's how I feel with Ragnarok. I don't understand where you're at with that.
Well,
I can't be on your side on that.
I don't dislike Ragnarok per se. I wish Thor had remained this kind of aloof and regal character.
I like the relatability now. I like the weird.
Okay, there are 800 other characters the Marvel has that they could be. You know what? None of this has anything to do.
We're on the tangent though. Where do you want Thor to go?
Well,
I guess my question.
Do
you want to revert?
I don't know. We're not going to get another Thor probably.
I don't want to see. I don't want to see any character try to adapt a Thor mentality. Like Thor can probably go back to wherever he was. I don't even know where he doesn't have a home to go back to.
Let's look at it.
He doesn't want to be at New Asgard.
Let's look at it this way. Black Panther was a ridiculously good movie. It was epic. It was Shakespearean. It was beautiful. And T'Challa was the king and doing all this stuff. What if they turn around in Black Panther 2 and he's joking all the time?
Oh, but that's
not with his sister, just all the time.
That would only be if Black Panther 2 starred this dark elf that tried to turn everything dark and almost destroyed the character. Thor was dead on arrival by the time Taika Waititi showed up and said, "Hey, I got a weird idea. Let's pair a Thor Ragnarok fight scene with Led Zeppelin's Immigrant Song. And it changed everything.
But even that, he spent the whole time being sarcastic.
Sure.
And it's like, but that's,
everybody is Tony Stark. That's a male character.
No.
At least until, I don't know, maybe T'Challa is probably the only one that is not quippy as much as everyone else is. But I think every other character has quips in them and are built like that.
No, and situationally appropriate, yes. I'm down with that.
Who's more jokey, Thor or Chris Pratt? Or Star-Lord?
Oh, Star-Lord. But that's the way it should be. But Thor is really, really trying to catch him.
Yeah.
So,
maybe they should do more situational fish out of water type of stuff.
Well,
situational
that's
humor.
The humor that Thor is supposed to give us. It's like I don't understand how this works or how that works, or I don't understand you mortals than your barcode scan. What are you talking about? I can summon lightning and the Bifrost, but
that was Ragnarok.
I don't understand how to. I don't understand how to ask for another cup of coffee. That's Thor humor, not Star-Lord humor. That's the way that's me.
That's fair.
But anyway, so now
do you want Thor in a Spider-Man movie?
Oh, if I can have Thor in a Spider-Man movie,
yeah,
that's okay. But if I have Fat Thor or Ragnarok Thor, I don't know if I want that.
I'm pretty sure he'll have shed
because
all of
Thor,
that. His costume's a tunic. It just
if you have Spider-Man and Thor has to be the straight man. Otherwise, there's no point. You're watching Guardians 3.
Yeah, depending on the situation, I suppose. It depends on if they're on Earth or if they're wherever Thor is. That would be the decider of who's the straight man or not.
No,
because Spider-Man can't be straight on a different planet.
Because yes, if
Spider-Man would need to be the crazy.
If Spider-Man is in space with Thor, he has no idea how to handle anything.
But on Earth,
and
Spider-Man's got to be the
straight man going, there, young mortal.
Yeah,
it will be okay. But on Earth, Spider-Man is in awe of the fact that the God of Thunder is walking around Queens with him, and he's not going to know what to do. He'll be out of his element in his neighborhood.
But it wouldn't be because of Thor being too serious, but for him being too fish out of water. So Tom Holland would be the straight man in that situation, probably. But they'd both be quippy in their own sense, kind of like how Doctor Strange was more of the straight man to Iron Man in Infinity War.
Yeah, but they was never. But Doctor Strange was never silly, never flat out. And that's what I'm saying. Thor. They need to bring Thor back to being the guy that you joke about, not the guy that makes the jokes. Does that make sense?
Sure.
That's the Thor that I want. And like I said, if you pair him with Spider-Man, oh my God, that would just be ridiculous. If Thor's going to the gym in Queens to try to get back in shape.
Yeah.
That would be hilarious if he ran into Peter Parker, who didn't know who he was. He looked a lot like Thor.
So without spoiling Far From Home.
Oh, dear.
What do you think the title for the third one is going to be, and who do you think the main villain is going to be?
The main villain...
Hopefully that does not...
The main villain...
do anything.
Will be the cameo from the credit scene. As it should be. I think they scale...
Gotcha.
I believe they scale Spider-Man's world back down into more friendly neighborhood Spider-Man. I believe the villain is quote-unquote villain. Is that for your camera? Quote-unquote villain. Will be the credit scene. That will be our villain. And the title will be... I'd tell you, but it might be a spoiler if I say that.
Well, then you're going to have to come up with a bad title. I just realized. I was thinking, what if it could be...
it would start with un.
Senior Prom.
No.
Or
it would start with un.
Undergrad.
No.
It's got to have something to do with
it could be graduation day, because that could be multi-layered.
That would be
but I think it would be I honestly think it would be the other one that I would say that would just ruin the end of the film.
Yeah.
So that's my guess. They could go graduation day or commencement.
Yeah, that could be it too.
So, but I don't like to guess names because filmmakers do things like The Rise of Skywalker, which makes no sense at all at this point.
I think we're going to see Harry Osborn. I'm just going to say it.
You think you're going to say?
I think we're finally going to see because now from where we go, we've got a lot of potential for what the Snap presented for a lot of students that are maybe older, younger. Maybe Harry Osborn is involved somehow as being the one or the other, the former or the latter. So I really think we're going to see a lot of his iconic characters start to really be expanded on.
And that's totally possible. That is totally possible.
Maybe a lot of villains. I think we're going to have a lot of villains, and
Well,
maybe
there's
only
never-
one
there-
of them will turn in to a villain. But
maybe.
all of those villains will just be around, and that he helps out, like what he would do with Dr. Octavius.
Yeah.
Just working with him in the lab, and he's not going to turn to Octavius until the next movie, when the main villain is this person or someone else.
And that's entirely possible. The great thing is that we don't know. We don't know who's going to write it. We don't know who's going to direct it. We don't know if they're going to attempt to keep it tied into the MCU, or if it's going to go off on its own little tangent. We don't know if they're going to try to tie it to Venom.
But Venom is going to desperately try to tie into Spider-Man. Please let me be in your movie. Kevin Feige is like, no, bro.
No,
not even on the Disney Plus. Just get away from here.
Not even on
Not
Disney
even on
Plus.
Disney Plus. Get out of here, Tom Holland.
That's yeah.
We got enough Chris's. We don't need two Toms.
Fact. Oh, I didn't even consider that. Be the Tom and Tom show.
Mm-hmm.
Wow, that'd be horrible. That would. Just
I'll be
horrible.
honest though, if Sony can crush it, I'd be cool with Spider-Man showing up in Venom, not really having anything to do with the MCU, but
Wrong coast.
he shows up and he's like, oh, now I got to deal with this guy.
It's wrong coast. Eddie Brock would have to come back east.
Yeah,
So, but
that'd be cool.
Yeah.
That would be interesting too. We get to figure out just like what he left behind.
we guess a lot.
Yeah, you get a lot of.
We got hints, but they were never actually spelled out. So, they have places to go if they go there intelligently, and that seems to be the problem: is that they don't go there intelligently.
Do you see anything happening with Miles Morales?
I could see them introing a non-powered version in 3,
Yeah.
or a non-powered version with a credit scene.
That'd be cool.
Transition. That would be an interesting way to go about it, much like people are trying to get Kamala Khan introduced. They would, and they theoretically could do that in an end credit scene in Captain Marvel 2, or even whatever the next team up film might be, whatever they want to call it.
Yeah.
There's places for the MCU to go. There's literally endless places for them to go to introduce character A, B, C, D, Z. It doesn't matter. They can pick one, and they can find an intelligent way to do it. And they've proven that that's what they're good at finding reasonable and organic ways to introduce this extended roster of characters. I am actually tonight, in a few hours, actually, I'm going to go see Endgame again, so I can watch the bonus stuff.
I read what it is. I'm excited to see your thoughts.
And I don't care to know at this point.
Well, you're going to pay money for it, so you
know.
might as well know
I know.
later on.
Well, I'll know later on, but yeah, I'll know tonight. But I don't think it's going to be that. I don't think we're going to get anything drastic, but you just don't know. But
Better be $8 worth.
It's $11 after fees.
Oh my goodness!
So $11.
Times
and
are changing.
change, because my theater of choice is not showing it, so I had to go to a different theater. But that's neither here nor there. The point is that Marvel has continually been able to lay the groundwork for future movies, and I don't think that there's any indication that's going to stop, whether it's in the MCU mainline or whether it's even in the Sony Spider-Verse.
Mm-hmm.
I don't think that is going to stop. I think they're going to continue to make creative choices. I'll be interested to see how much longer I have to wait for a good Fantastic Four movie.
Yeah, I'm sure that's probably right around Phase 5.
Yeah.
But I think you're right. I don't see Sony wanting to take back Spider-Man only for their own properties, mainly because it took being in the MCU to get him to this point. Why ruin a good thing? They're both making money. Into the Spider-Verse crushed and had nothing to do with the MCU, so it's clear that they have at least 2 or 3 people there that have some good ideas that they're listening to. So let's see what they do with Morbius, with Jared Leto, and with Venom. And I don't know where they're going with the Silver Sable Black Cat. Is that still happening? Because they do have a universe that they're cooking up, and so whatever they're doing, you're going to see Tom Holland involved at some point.
At some point,
So is that up to the MCU or Sony? Who's going to be put through it? I think it's just as long as you can't tell anything about what happened in those movies, just to have it be for this.
I think any Black Cat, Morbius, I think any of those will stay on the Sony side. And Spider-Man will just make appearances as necessary, if necessary, in the MCU proper. And I think that's just the way that they're going to have to handle it because you're right. Sony's not going to give them up, and rightfully so. That's handled correctly. That's a money-making machine.
Yeah.
So make dollar
until
sign,
Disney
Spider-Man.
buys them.
It's the way to go. Yeah. That's tough. But Spider-Man Far From Home, solid. And I don't think we spoiled anything. I think we managed
I don't know.
to
Guy in the back, did we spoil anything?
We spoil
You feel
anything?
spoiled?
Do you feel like we've robbed you?
All righty.
There you go.
Well, now let's tell you what really happens.
Yeah. Oh, my. When Ned's head exploded
Huh.
and there was blood.
How much time do we have left? I should rate it, right? I haven't rated it.
Oh, no. Let's go ahead and wrap it up. Where, on a scale of 1 to 10, where are you at?
I'm going to go with an 8.5 out of 10. I think this was a great Spider-Man film. Maybe there's some stuff that to me could have been pushed forward a little more, but I really had a great time with this.
I think I called Homecoming a 9 or a 9.5 just because it's so beautifully captured, like I said, the John Hughes feel of high school, while giving us a solid Spider-Man superhero movie. And I think I'm only gonna give this one like an 8.
Nice.
An 8 out of 10.
That's a good score, man.
It is a good score. Like I said,
people get down on 8s, but 8s are so good.
I know, right? I wish Hollywood needs more 8s and less 6s.
It's when we start saying 5 is when you got to get worried.
Oh, right.
Spider-Man 2.
So no, it's still good. I just, I made the comparison when we reviewed John Wick 3. I was like, I was kind of in an Empire Jedi situation where I thought 2 was better than 3.
Yeah.
But that does not mean that I did not like 3. So, but no, so Far From Home I don't think is as good as Homecoming. But it's still good. I still think it gives them plenty of places to go in the future. And as long as they keep their eye on the ball and keep it about Peter Parker, then I think they're going to be fine moving forward.
Yep.
So, cool. You got anything you want to add?
No. Thank you everybody for coming out.
Yeah,
and
we appreciate each
fun.
and all of one of you. So, till next time.
Yep. Patrick over at Patrick Beatty Reviews.
Yep. And follow us on Visually Stunning Movie Podcast. We're on Twitter, Facebook, every place you want to be. So, talk to you all later.